Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 5 of my How to Create WordPress Themes from Scratch tutorial. This is the final part. In this part, we're going to create the archive.php file and the 404.php file. And on the left side of your screen, you can see this is the finished blog. If you can't see this, view it full screen to be able to see it a little bit easier. And basically what we're going to do for the archive.php file is we're going to take this block right here and display it on the archive page. Just in case you forgot, archive column is going to surround all of this on the screen, and then archive container surrounds just these boxes that you see right here. If you can see my mouse moving around over here. Let's just jump right into it. Now what are we going to need first? Oh, let's just jump into the archive page here just to see how it's messed up, and then we'll fix it. Okay, well we need a left sidebar. So what do? We just type in first, because that's what we called it, and then we save it and reload it, and you can see that everything's going to be coming together real nice already. So there that is. That looks good. Then what are we going to do? Well, we have to create those middle containers as we saw on the blog right here. So we're going to do some copying and pasting. I'm going to jump over here into index.php, and I'm going to look for where those are. Well, you can see right here is middle column. So that's a div that we're going to want to copy. And we'll also want to copy middle container and middle title. So let's jump back over into archive.php and let's paste everything in there the way that we know we should need to. So right after the sidebar, we're going to paste in middle column. However, I'm going to have to do some additional editing on it. So I'm going to call this archive column instead of middle column. And then we're going to create two additional divs. One is going to be the archive container and the other is going to be archive title. So let's just name them right now. Archive container and archive title. Now we're going to do something kind of neat here with the archive title, just like we had previously done, where we were trying to figure out exactly, and let's scroll and zoom in here. When I say archive title, what I'm referring to is this guy right here. Well, we want to make this dynamic, so we want, if this is an actual article, it to say article, and if it's a video, we want it to say video. And we did this previously in a past tutorial. All we need to do is copy this code right here, and it's going to check which category it is, and then place the proper information in there based off of the category. So there we are, we just replaced that, and of course we're going to have to call this archive, and call this archive. Alright, so that's looking good. That's going to give us site a little bit more of a dynamic sort of look to it. Then this guy's going to check if we have posts to display and leave everything here, because this is going to check exactly what type of archive file we're going to be pulling up. So we want to let WordPress do most of the heavy lifting in regards to that. Then I decided I don't want a little navigational tool to show up with this guy right here. It's going to be a little link that shows up that allows people to click older posts, newer posts, so forth and so on. I'm going to allow that to be at the bottom of the page and get rid of that. If you don't know what I'm referring to, don't worry about it. Then what I'm going to do, because I'm mainly going to be copying what's on the blog page, I'm going to jump back over into index.php, and I'm going to come right here where it says middle container, and I'm going to copy that the whole way down where middle container ends, right like that. And I'm going to jump back over into archive, and right after, while I have posts, I'm going to create all those individual containers and paste that in there. And then once again, for middle title, because I want all this to be dynamic, I'm going to jump up here and grab this guy right here, and I'm going to copy that and jump back down into here, and now it's going to give me dynamic sorts of information instead of the bland garbage that we got before. And again, we're going to change this to middle though, and change this to middle. And everything else can stay exactly the same way that we used it previously because it worked before, so there's no reason to change anything. And then down here, we're actually going to get rid of all of this information because we don't need it. We're going to get rid of all of that, and we're going to use a custom way of bringing our posts into the page. And then after this little navigation guy right here, we're going to have to close the two divs that we created. So which of those two divs? Well, it's archive column and archive container. So scroll right back down here. I'm in here, paste, and we're just going to close those individual divs. So div, don't need this extra space. And we're going to tell anyone who's looking at this theme exactly what they're closing. Well, they're closing archive container, copy, paste, and they're also going to be closing archive column. So let's make a copy of this, paste that in there, and type in archive column. See, a lot of the stuff I'm doing here is just cutting and pasting. And all of the code is available in a link underneath this video. It's a lot easier to follow if you have the code in front of you. Then, get sidebar. Well, in this situation, we're not going to put the right sidebar in because I just decided not to. So, it's gone. And then the only thing left to do is to close our content wrapper, which is the div that surrounds every single thing that's on the page. And I talked about that in a previous part of this video tutorial series. So we'll just end of, and we'll call this content wrapper. And that's all the changes you need to make on the archive page. So let's jump over here to the actual part of the website and see exactly what happened. So let's just click on archive. And there you can see things are laying themselves out pretty nicely. Everything is looking pretty sharp except this part down here. And we're going to fix that using some CSS code. Let's jump over into style.css. And then right here where it says styling used for archive page, we're going to do the individual styling for the archive column and the archive container and the archive title. All three things that we just created. Now to save ourselves some time, we're actually, because we heavily borrowed those things from the middle column, middle container, and middle title, we're going to copy that and then jump back down here into the area where we're going to have to put in our specific archive information and paste that inside of there. And now we're going to make specific changes to correct what you see here on the screen. Now let me zoom out a little bit. So from looking at this, I know I'm going to need to make a couple changes in regards to the actual size. And also, of course, I'm going to have to change the name. So this is archive column, archive container, and archive title. All right, so got all those changed. Well, this guy's going to have to go up or increase in size dramatically, more than twice its overall size. So let's just say 620 pixels. See how that works out. And these margins need to come down pretty dramatically. Let's just take them down to 3 and see how they show up. File save, reload. Okay, so it's looking tighter except the page part's a little messed up. Well, that's because this needs to be taken up to 620 as well. We're going to make the height auto so that it automatically will fix everything and put everything inside of there where we want it. Padding, let's take this up to 5. We don't need inline block, I don't believe. Reload. Yep, looking pretty tight, looking pretty tight. Alright, so everything is lining up inside of here. And here is what I was talking about. Let's jump over into archive. Remember I said nav.php? I was talking about what that is. See, it says older entries down here. That's what that link is right there, and that's what pulls inside of there. Previously, I wanted to put it at the top of the page, but I didn't think that made any sense, so that's why I got rid of it. So, if we jump back over into style.css, we can see really the only problem we have here is archives is messed up. This is archive title. So we just got to move it around until it's in the right position. Let's move it over here, see if we can get it in the right place. Shrink this down. Basically, we have to move it more over to the right, so we're just going to increase the left part of this. So let's just say 400, I don't know. File save, reload, and it's not quite there. Let's say 425, reload, and that is just about perfect. So yeah, you can play with that a couple pixels here and there, but in general, it looks really, really good. And then if we zoom out of this, you can see that everything is laying itself out really, really nice, and there is our new archive page. Now, well, you can move this around, take out this archive for August 2011, move it around, do whatever you want with it. But in general, I'm pretty happy with the way this is all styling and laying out. So now I'm going to move over into the 404 page. Now this is often completely disregarded. And let's just show you what the 404 page looks like currently on this website theme. See, it looks like nothing. It looks horrible. So we're just going to jump over here and open up 404.php. Now with my 404 pages, a couple things I'm going to need to do. I'm going to grab my sidebar. And I'm going to display it, and we're going to type in first. So now this guy's going to have a sidebar. Then I'm basically just going to use the content column and all that information. If you want to see what this looks like. There you go. It's starting to fall in together. All right, so what I'm going to use is my actual content divs that I used previously on single.php. So I'm going to use content column and content container, and this is just going to surround everything and hopefully put everything in the right positions. So right after I create my sidebar, I'm going to throw those two divs inside of there. Then what I'm going to want to do here is, this is completely horrible, so let's just delete that altogether. And let's also throw in my right sidebar. And this 404 page is going to say, hey, I couldn't find what you asked me to look for, but here are all the articles on my whole entire site. I always found that that works out as a nice 404 page. And I just threw in my right sidebar there while you weren't looking. So let's just jump in here and let's just code this out right here on the screen. And while we're at it, might as well close these two guys down. So let's go div, like that, end of, this is going to be content container, end of content column. And then we're going to ask WordPress to display a whole bunch of things on the screen. One thing I haven't really talked about is, and I'm going to break a couple rules here. I'm going to embed a style inside of here, but let's just say font size. Let's increase size of this font just in this special situation. Now, if you want WordPress to automatically translate everything inside of your blog or just a line of text, what you do is you do _E, and it's going to automatically come in there and translate that. And I'm going to insert a break statement inside of here. And then I'm going to say, sorry, I can't find that page. And you can put something in there a little bit nicer and more descriptive than that. But this all works for what we're doing here. And then I'm going to close off my PHP block, and then I'm going to close off that div. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to issue a custom query. So let's just say, and then throw it in an H2 tag, put some emphasis on this. And I'm going to say PHP, and I'm going to create something called num posts is equal to, and I want to do a custom query inside of WordPress. So I'm going to go WPDB, WordPress database, and I'm going to say get var, and then you can just put a query inside of here. So let's say select count, as many as we've got from, this is the WordPress database again. So I'm asking it how many posts are there in the WordPress database, where post status is equal to publish. So I'm saying how many posts are there that are published. It's a custom query. Throw that inside of there. And then I'm going to say if the number of posts published is greater than 0, copy that. Actually, I don't need this h2 tag up here. I'm going to put it down here below. I'm going to say that num posts, just thinking about the future here where you're going to have thousands of different posts on your page, I'm going to say, no, I'm going to call a function in PHP called number format. What it's going to do is it's going to automatically insert commas in the case of there being thousands or millions of posts. And here's where I'm going to throw in my h2 tag, call PHP again, and I'm going to say echo, check out the, and then I'm going to insert the number of posts that we got, articles below. It's going to tell them how many articles that I have and display it on the screen. And hopefully they'll be impressed and take a look at them. And then I'm going to close off my h2 tag, and we can just file save that and reload it just to see what's going on here. And there you are. You can say, sorry, I can't find that page, and it says check out the 48 articles below. Okay, so well, I have to actually go get those 48 articles. So to do that, I'm going to create an unordered list. I'm going to call it ID is equal to, I don't know, archive list. Close out that unordered list. And then inside of here, I'm going to go get all of them, list them all out. So I'm going to go PHP. So to get all of my posts, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go my posts, create a variable, and I'm going to call a function inside of WordPress called getPosts. And I'm going to tell it to get number posts is equal to, and I'm going to say -1 when that kind of defaults to all of them. So that's cool. And then I'm going to say for each post, for each my post, as post. You can just copy and paste this code if you don't know what I'm doing here. Just basic PHP. And then I'm going to create all my list items. Let's scroll this up so you can actually see it. PHP. And then I'm going to output the time. You just call a function called the time, which is nice. And I'm going to say m-d-year. Close off that PHP section there. Put in a colon. I'm going to put a reference. H-reference is equal to. And I'm going to go get the actual link to this article. Do that using the permalink. Close that off. Close off that. Put that in there. And then I'm going to want to insert my actual title for the article. You do that by calling the title inside of WordPress. And then close off that PHP section. And then close off the actual anchor link. And then close off the list item. Then we're going to have to call PHP again. And we need to end our for each loop. And I think I did everything right. Let's say. Reload. Yep, looks like I did everything right. And if we zoom in on this guy, yep, you can see that there it is. It listed all the goofy articles that I have here on my test bed sort of WordPress thing. It's been a lot of fun creating this theme. You can download it, do whatever you want with it. Like I said before, all the code's underneath. Leave any questions or comments below. And otherwise, till next time.